I hope we're working now. Yes, we're in and you can see me. Fantastic. Hello and welcome. And thank you for joining us. I'm just going to find out why I've not got my chat pane in there. That's a bit weird, isn't it? How are you today? Thank you so much for taking the time to come and be part of this masterclass today. There we go. Perfect. Cool. And people have managed to get in. Please, if you can hear me, if you can see me, give me a hello via the chat box. And today we're going to be talking about your hidden blocks. And goodness knows, I've had to deal with a few of mine over the last few weeks. If you hang out with me, you know I've been doing the final edits for the Dare to Dream Bigger handbook manuscript, which is due with the printer in about 11 days. And it's 320 pages of gorgeousness. But when you have a project that big to deliver, every tiny block you have comes up to dance and play. So in the last few weeks, I have had to deal with most of the stuff that I actually help you deal with in the Dare to Dream Bigger handbook. And this is why I wanted to run a masterclass for you today on how to spot your hidden blocks. Because, you know, I thought I dealt with those blocks until I had to step out of a comfort zone. For me, it's my 5th book, so publishing a book is fine, but it's the first one that we've done as a hardback with a full-size professional print run. And suddenly that stretch of comfort zone means that the seedlings of all those hidden blocks that I thought I dealt with have come back up to play at the next level because I'd only dealt with them at this level and I needed to dive in more deeply. So I know this stuff works because I've been using it myself over the last month as and when stuff's been coming up. So, yep, I hope you can hear me. Nobody's saying they can't. So the question I've got for you first is, if there's one question I could answer for you today, what would it be? Please let me know via the chat. And the chat is only available, it's only visible to people who've actually signed up to register for this masterclass. And as you know, if you've been on one of my masterclasses before, I know how to answer your question without mentioning your name. So where are you stuck? It's just between us. And I'll make sure that whatever your one question is you want me to cover today, I'll make sure we cover it before the end. So here's what I've got planned is how to spot your hidden blocks, because they are masters of disguise, and how to decode them so you know which ones to tackle first, how to make them nearly irrelevant. I love this one. And this one, I've seen this so much in social media in the last week, it's important. How to step up to the next level, how to use that block clearing to allow you to expand and grow, and then how to make change last. This one's really important and we'll cover that one last. I've got all of your questionnaire answers, so thank you to those of you who filled in the survey. And what I'm going to do at each stage is remind myself what your answers were and make sure we cover those specific issues, again, name free, in the masterclass today. I hope that's okay with you. So let's get started. How to spot your hidden blocks. So last week, for example, I was running a strong case of imposter syndrome, feeling like a fraud, scared of being caught out. The whole, who am I to write a book on daring to dream bigger? Now, it's ridiculous. I know there's a bit of me that goes, well, Claire, you've been working on this for a year. This is the build-up of 14 years worth of work. How many thousands of people have you worked with on this? Of course you can write this book. But the little voice inside cranked up the volume and made sure I was getting the message that I wasn't able to write the book. I wasn't good enough. But it didn't come out with a nice little sign and a lapel badge saying, hi, I'm your limiting belief that you're not quite good enough. It didn't do that. What did it do? It meant that my kids got ill. It meant that I lost loads of sleep. It meant that crises came up. Yeah, it's as though I attracted the very things that would allow me to fulfill my secret wish of not being able to write the book. Of course, I dealt with these things, but until I dealt with that belief underneath, those obstacles kept landing in my way. Because the instruction to my unconscious mind from my inner critic was, be not good enough to write the book, make sure the book doesn't get written, because if you write the book and publish it, people will criticize it and you'll get nothing but 1-star reviews and that will be the end of the world forever. Now, I know it's not going to get nothing but 1-star reviews because my R&D team have been amazing and they've been giving me brilliant feedback, and I'm really grateful. If you're in my R&D team and you're on the call today, massive gratitude. So I know it's not true, but it still comes up. So the way I spotted those blocks, I have a rule of 3. If 3 obstacles come in my way in a short space of time, I know I need to deal with a hidden block. And the way I do that is I look at what I'm currently most scared of. What is it that secretly I'm peeing my pants about, yeah? And that's probably got a block attached that means I'm manifesting drama somewhere else to give me an excuse not to deliver on the thing that's outside my comfort zone. Does that make sense? Do you ever get that experience where there's something that you're secretly avoiding, but you also secretly want to do it, but it's a comfort zone stretch, and so drama appears in other areas of your life? So these blocks, these masters of disguise, here's how to spot them. It's a really deceptively simple question. Think about something that's stretching your comfort zone or that you feel unsure about, and just finish the question. I can't do this because. I can't do this because. So, for the example of the book the other week, I can't do this because I don't have enough time. I can't do this because Rafi's really ill. I can't do this because it's the summer holidays and the kids need my attention. I can't. Yeah, all of this is surface level excuses. You keep going. You keep going with those becauses until you hit at least 7 to 10 of them. And around that bottom point, you get the real reasons. And you can tell they're the real reasons because your physiology changes, your posture changes. It'll suddenly be, I can't do that because I'm scared people might find out I'm not good enough. Everything starts to contract, yeah? I can't do that because I might get terrible reviews. I can't do that because I'm not, who am I to write a book? Who am I to create a training course? Who am I to go for that job interview? When your becauses start making you flinch and contract, they are your hidden blocks. So if you're watching this live, jot down notes as we're going. If you're watching the replay, I invite you to press pause for a moment. Get 7 to 10 answers to your becauses, and then we're going to pick them and deal with them live during the rest of the masterclass today. So shake that off when you're ready, because I don't want to leave you stuck in that because space. So another way we can spot our blocks is our excuses. Yeah. So an email might come in offering you an opportunity. And if you're running a self-sabotage pattern, you'll have brilliant reasons why you can't do it. You know, there's part of you going, oh, I'd love to give that speech, or, oh, that sounds like a great job to apply for, or whatever. And there's a bit of you going, oh, but you're too busy. You're, you know, it wouldn't be a move in the right direction for you. You know, we'll come up with all of these reasons to justify why we don't say yes. And we just put it off and put it off and put it off until suddenly it's too late and the chance is gone. And we feel a sense of relief. I don't need to feel guilty about self-sabotaging anymore, okay? So that is a sign to go and do that because exercise. Okay, what's the real reason? Because the stuff at the surface about not having enough time is an excuse, not a truth. When we're totally committed to something and we've cleared out our blocks and our fears and our worries and our limiting beliefs and our excuses about it, and this doesn't have to be perfect, by the way, it's just good enough is good enough, yeah? When you've done that, you'll find it shoots to the top of your to-do list. When you're feeling confident, you're inspired, and you're excited by a project, suddenly those cute cat videos on Facebook don't have as much appeal. Okay, so when you find yourself procrastinating, feeling overwhelmed, that's usually a warning signal there's a hidden block running. When you become aware of them, sometimes that's simply enough to release them. If you went through your list of 7 to 10 becauses right now, I'm guessing there's quite a few of them. You could just draw a great big fat line through going, nah, that's not real. Yeah. And it goes, just imagine you're cutting the ties, an enormous pair of scissors to any invisible ties you had to that. Let it go. There will be some that you think, actually, yeah, that one I need to deal with. Great. Yeah. And we're going to pick one of those today. So self-sabotage is another way to spot your hidden blocks. When you secretly want to say yes and you find yourself saying no, or you secretly want to say no and you find yourself saying yes to something that moves you away from your big vision, from your purpose, from your excitement, from your big why and your big message. So those are, if we were working together in a one-to-one session, that is how I would start us off finding your hidden blocks. So you want to ask yourself, finish the question, I can't do this because, or I haven't done it yet because, or I don't want to do this because. Get to the bottom of the becauses. Look at the ones that make you flinch, that make the body contract, and they're the hidden blocks. So I hope this is useful so far. Please do let me know via the chat if you've got any other questions. And I want to quickly run through, I asked a question in the survey, where do you feel stuck in your business or dreams? So one of the answers, getting plans written down and organized. Okay, so when we struggle with getting organized, it's usually because we don't have enough clarity. When you have laser focus and you know what you want to create and for whom and what your basic steps are going to be, the main building blocks over the next 6, 12, 18, 24 months, chunking it down. And then at each level, when you've got these blocks, you can ask yourself, okay, what might get in the way? Deal with that, and then it won't. And when you've got your monthly blocks, you break it down into smaller chunks, and then it's just dedication, commitment. There's a beautiful Sanskrit word called abhyasa, which loosely translates, apologies to any Sanskrit scholars on the call today, loosely translates as keeping going when you're not in the mood. Okay, it applies to the world of meditation and yoga, but it also applies to making a difference in the world and running a business. Is keeping going when you're not in the mood. Now, when you're employed, your boss is responsible for your abhyasa. Yeah, your boss is the one that says, actually, Claire, you didn't do that this week. They are your dedication. They are your deadline chaser. They set the procedures. You agree the rules. When you're self-employed, you need to be the boss. Okay. So if you find that you're not feeling organized, look at what's wasting your time, look at what's stealing your time, and look at when in your day would work best to be working on your business dreams. But nearly always with a client, when somebody's feeling overwhelmed and disorganized, it's because they're lacking clarity or they're heading towards something that isn't really exciting for them. When you're passionate, when you're connected with your why am I doing this? What's the difference I want to make? Who am I doing it for? When you're lined up with that, it gives you access to the passion and the excitement and the drive and the energy. So another block that we had. Okay, I'm in the final year of my degree and I don't feel passionate in anything. So you don't want to keep studying and feel like you should have been done with that ages ago, nor do I feel comfortable being an entrepreneur. I want to have an income and move on with my life and spend more quality time getting to know my boyfriend and treating my mother more often than just birthdays. So this one's brilliant, okay? There's nothing you feel passionate about. Great. Nothing in the work arena you feel passionate about. So what's happened is you sound like you've been working incredibly hard on your studying. And you describe more about that in your other answers. And when we're exhausted and our batteries are empty, it's almost impossible to connect with any sense of passion or drive. And instead of flowing and loving the journey, we push and we force and we suffer from what's called shoulditis. I call it shoulditis, sort of heavy shoulders. It's, oh, I have to do this and I ought to do that. That drains your batteries. So I would suggest 2 things to get started with in this situation, because that's a really big block. If you can't get excited about your goals, it's a really big block. 1, forget about your goals. Go and spend 5 minutes a day doing something you love, something that makes your heart sing, something you love doing, that you excel at. Forget about whether it earns you money. It's 5 minutes of your day. Yeah. If I phoned you right now to chat about the weather, I'm guessing we could fritter away 10 minutes without trying. 5 minutes, you can find it. Doing something that makes your heart sing, because that will reconnect you with your inner passion for life. And look at your self-care regime until your batteries have been topped up. And this is something we talk about at length in the handbook. In fact, there you go. Here's the whole section on that bit here. Until your batteries are topped up, you haven't got the energy to make the difference you're here to make. So it's really worth looking at what could you do for self-care. And self-care does not mean watching telly. Okay, we might enjoy it, but it doesn't top up your batteries. It usually drains them with the drama and the emotions and the negativity. The only exception I've found on that is sometimes comedy shows will lift my spirits, but there aren't that many of them around. I've got them mostly on DVD. So looking at your self-care, what energizes you, and also looking at your drains. What's draining your energy? And last week, for my birthday gift to you all, we ran a 5-day challenge where each day I taught you a technique that you can do in a series of techniques, some days that take less than 5 minutes to top up your batteries, re-energize you, and help you de-stress. And if you've not done that yet, you can still get it as my gift, dancinginyoursoulshoes.com/how to de-stress. That's dancinginyoursoulshoes.com/how to de-stress. I really recommend doing that to build self-care into your routine. So another block, where are you stuck? Finishing things, bouncing around. This is a really big one. Now, there's two ways this happens for us. One is shiny object syndrome, where we chase the newest idea that we've had and we never quite complete anything. And the other one is overwhelm. And overwhelm we've already talked about. So the not finishing things, that usually means we've not cranked up our big why and our big vision enough. Because when you're totally passionate about whatever it is you want to create, you will finish it. And if you did test finishing, you'll find somebody who can finish it for you in your dream team, yeah? So it's looking at, what is this doing for me? Secondary gain. What is it I'm getting from not finishing these things? What is it I'm avoiding having to do? What is it I'm avoiding changing that means I'm not completing things? Often, the not completing things is an imposter syndrome. It's a self-sabotage. It's a limiting belief. It's the, if I complete it, then people will realize I'm not actually good enough. Yeah. And if it's not finished, then I never actually have to stand up and be counted, and I don't have to go visible. So it might be something like that. Or it might be that what you're doing is actually the wrong direction for you at this time. And there's part of you saying, please don't launch that. Please don't finish that. So it's going beneath, I'm not finishing this because, deal with those answers, and you'll find the finishing either becomes easier or you'll just scrap them completely. So I hope this is helping. I hope these examples are helping you feel how this stuff can work for you. Yeah? Okay. Where do I feel stuck? Asserting myself, proclaiming my experience and qualifications, speaking up and speaking out. I have an entire chapter in the Dare to Dream Bigger handbook on confidence. It's step 2. We start with clarity in step 1, know what you want, which when I talk to fellow mentors, it's amazing how rare it is for someone to really know what they want. We've got a rough idea, but that's usually it. Then it's confidence, getting your confidence. Then it's credibility, so that other people trust you. Then it's connection with yourself, with your dream audience, with your dream team of support team. Then it's creativity, your inspired actions, what you're doing. It's commitment, that abhyasa that we've mentioned, and celebrating at the end, which turns your inner critic into your biggest cheerleader. So not having the courage to follow through, this is usually something like an imposter syndrome. And the topics we cover in confidence in the Dare to Dream Bigger handbook will really help with that. But I suggest, if you're watching, you know who you are. If you're watching this today, pick that issue and run it through the process that we're going to do in a moment and see how that helps. Okay, next one, being visible and really going for it 110%. I don't put the effort in I would really like to, and make excuses like I have no time or there's no rush. Now, these are brilliant insights, and it's great that you've got the self-awareness to spot that these time things are just excuses. Really going for it, what you need to do there is crank up your big why. Why am I doing this? Yeah. If I couldn't do this, what would I miss out on? What would the world miss out on? When you're totally lined up with your big vision, you'll find the passion drives you through. Yeah. Unless your batteries are empty, in which case you need to do the self-care. So really going for it 110%, that's often a confidence issue. It might be that you're not comfortable being credible, being held accountable. So these could be the hidden blocks under there. And convincing ourselves that we have no time or there is no rush. There's no reason why anything should be a rush, and we have all the time we need. So sometimes what we need to do in those situations is clear out the stuff that's non-essential, so that most of the time we have, or most of the spare time we have, if you're running a job or family, can be used for that goal. Okay, another one. This is a good one. I'm worried I don't know the difference between following up contacts or being pushy, and I'm anxious not to seem the latter. Now, we cover this in detail in step 4 of the handbook, but the key here is twofold. One, to be convinced by the value of your message for the other person. Okay? When you can really, really see how whatever it is you're communicating is going to help or benefit them, then it becomes your duty to communicate that. The other one is it's your intention. People can smell intention, just like dogs can smell fear. If you find that you're making a phone call and you feel bad because you think they might think you're being salesy or sleazy, then that is what they will perceive. If you do the inner work and you think, right, okay, I'm confident in my message. I know how it benefits the other person. And my intention is simply to connect with them today and find out how we might work together, for example. When that purity of intention is there and you come from the heart and not from the fear-based head, you'll find that you don't come across as pushy. But it's also important to have boundaries. If somebody's promised to do something and they've not done it, it's important just to have that chat. Just take out the drama and the emotion. Look, you said you do it. I'm phoning to find out what's going on. How can I help? Yeah. When you take out the drama and you take out the emotion and you release the mind stories, set the intention to be positive, heart to heart, and I'm hoping you'll find that a lot easier. Okay. So how to decode the answers and which blocks should you handle first? Well, there are some blocks that do need to work one-to-one with someone because sometimes there might be old trauma in there and it's really worth working with somebody who knows what they're doing to help you release that. But the vast majority of our blocks are actually pretty easy to handle. If you start with the block that's causing you a physiological response, then that's a below the surface block, okay? So that's a root cause block. If you start with the stuff you can just cross off your list, it's like the peripheral blocks. They're the above the surface conscious awareness blocks. They are the symptoms, the effects. The ones that make you flinch are the root causes. If you deal with the root cause blocks, the others actually melt away, okay? So you might run a block, for example, of not having enough time and being totally overwhelmed, but actually what's underneath it is fear of success, because if you're a success, you won't have time for your family anymore. Maybe that's a belief you've picked up. Deal with the fear of success and the time issues will disappear. Does that make sense? So the stuff that creates a very strong emotional response, I really recommend you work one-to-one with somebody or go on a workshop where it's actually intended to release that kind of block. If you've got something that comes up and you need emergency first aid and block releasing, one of the most potent techniques I've found for doing this on your own is actually EFT, tapping. You know, the whole da-da-da-da-da. It's really worth getting on a course to find out how to do that. Brad Yates does some amazing videos where he actually teaches you how to do EFT on your own. So I strongly recommend those. So EFT is another brilliant technique you can use if you're on your own and suddenly one of these blocks has come up and you just think, you know what, I've had enough. I'm going to deal with this one now. Okay. How to make them nearly irrelevant. Now, this came up 4 times on Facebook this week in different people's threads, was them sitting in front of a client or a customer and suddenly having an attack of the wobbles. Yeah, is losing self-confidence, imposter syndrome. Who am I to do that? And if that happens, what's happened is you've taken the energy that you could give them for whatever the transformation is you create or whatever the widget is that you sell or make, and you're turning it back to yourself. And your whole focus is going on your stories of your fears and your worries. And it's all about you. And when this happens, it's almost impossible to hear what the other person is saying. We go back to the primal part of the brain that doesn't like dealing in data and information. It just wants to know whether or not it needs to run or freeze or fight. And you lose access to the prefrontal cortex that does your strategic thinking. So where your client is saying, well, could you help me with this? And you're suddenly going, how long are your teeth and how big are your claws? And can I run faster than him? Yeah. You're going to really struggle. And then the worst thing that happens there is that because you're already running the I don't think I'm good enough, you suddenly realize you're not actually able to think straight. And so you then really believe you're not good enough. So the quickest way to turn this around is say, you know what? I'm pressing pause on my inner stories. And right now, I'm going to give my full focus on the needs of this person and how I can help them. And I'm going to trust that they've come to me for a reason. And I'm going to trust that if we're meant to work together, we will, and it will be fine. But I am going to get me out of the way. And I'm going to give my focus 100% to them, because this is about them and not me. And when you do that and you do a deep breath, you might not want to do a sighing breath like I do at the start of meditations, but you do a breath back in the belly and you get grounded, those stories will quieten. Okay. You can choose which thoughts to feed, turn your focus onto the other person, give your energy to the other person, give your awareness to the other person, and the stories melt away. Now, I even had to do this myself last week. Again, as I said, the book's been bringing up every block I've had that's ready to go, and some that I was defending quite well. Every time I've had a wobble, I've thought about a reader. And I have two readers in mind who I've kept in mind throughout writing the book, one man and one woman. And I think about them and I think, if I let this win, so that the book doesn't get published, or so that this section is negatively influenced by my fears, then they won't get to read it and I won't get to make the difference that they want me to make in their life with them. Because we co-create this difference. When we read a book, we work with the author. Even if it's a novel, we still co-create the experience, because we take their words and we turn them into an experience in our minds and our bodies. If I let the fear win, they lose. They're more important to me than the fear. So that's my emergency first aid. That's how to make these blocks nearly irrelevant. The more you do that, you're creating new neural pathways between the synapses in your brain. It's like walking through a field. Yeah, we've had the tent up in the garden for the last 2 weeks and it hasn't rained yet. English summer. When we first put the tent up, the grass was quite long. Excuse me. The grass was quite long and quite wet in the morning dew, and bottoms of pajama trousers would get quite wet. Over the last 2 weeks, the footpath to the tent is now really obvious and the grass is trodden down, so the trousers don't get wet. It's the same in your brain, not that you're getting wet trousers in your head. In your brain, the more often you practice something, the more it becomes your new autopilot. The more often you can turn it around and say, actually, that fear isn't worth to me as much as the benefit of helping that person. Then the more that will become your autopilot response, and the more your mind will collect the evidence that shows that old belief was out of date and didn't work anyway. Okay? So how to make them nearly irrelevant, how to deal with them. Have you got a belief that you would like to work on today? Have you got a block that you're ready to let go of? Sorry, I'm just doing a couple of tech bits here. I'm going to write this question in the chat box. A block you're ready to release today. There you go. So what I invite you to do is picture that block and make it one that's a 3 or a 4 out of 10, because it's the first time you're going to do this process. And then just close your eyes. Gently close your eyes, because that allows the right hemisphere of the brain that's a bit more creative to come out to play, and it calms the thinking mind. And take in a deep breath through your nose and out with an R. And just allow yourself a moment to come back to this present moment and get grounded right here, right now. Okay. And now I want you to imagine that there's a version of you in the world that doesn't have that block anymore. A version of you who's really moved past it at a deep level, who let it go. And I want you to imagine that you can stand in the future soul shoes of that version of you. And in your mind's eye, look down and see your feet. Feel the body of that future version of you. Experience what they're experiencing. Notice the thoughts that they're thinking. Become aware of the kinds of actions that they're taking. and feel how it feels to be free from that old block and able to head towards wherever it is your journey is taking you with that new sense of confidence and clarity and connection. And when you're ready, keeping your eyes softly closed, remember that anything you can imagine, you can create. And if you can imagine what it feels like to be the you that no longer has that block, why wait until then? What would happen if every morning when you get out of bed, you were to step into those soul shoes instead? If every day when you had actions to take, you were to align every cell in your body with that feeling, with those thoughts, with that experience, with that self-belief? And at the end of each day, if you were to give silent thanks for having spent another day free, confident, and connected. When you're ready, opening your eyes. And if you're watching the replay on this, you might want to press pause for a few moments and see if there's a message from that future you, if they have any advice for you and any suggestions for you. And just press pause, take a moment and write that down and come back to me when you're ready. So that time travel technique is a brilliant way of releasing the block. You can do, as I say, EFT tapping. There's techniques like PS Tech. If we were one-to-one, there are all sorts of things we could do as well. And there are plenty of ideas in the Dare to Dream Bigger handbook. But that one is one of the most potent. And if you need confidence as a boost fast, if you've got a phone call to make or a presentation to do, anything like that, getting lined up energetically with that future version of you and getting excited, feeling how it feels. Because your body affects your thoughts and your emotions. It's really hard to shift your mind because it's not concrete. There's nothing to hold on to. You can't physically move it, but you can always change your body. And if you shift how your body is being held, how it's feeling, it will change your thoughts. It changes the chemical reactions in the body, which are what your emotions are. They are, I was told once, they are just chemical reactions in your body, and my chemical reactions went off. Changing the body, shifting your nervous system, using the power of your mind to create and imagine. Do that 3 or 4 times a day, and you'll find that block just goes. It's one of the most potent ways of time traveling. Yeah, none of this is real. So your beliefs aren't real. They're just filters in your brain in the reticular activating system, and you can change them. Yeah, tooth fairies, Father Christmas, sorry. You can change your beliefs. You can grow new neural pathways. If you learn to walk, if you've ever learned to ride a bike or speak a foreign language or to cook, you've created new neural pathways. It's that simple when we get out of the story, out of the drama, out of the emotions. So, how to step up to the next level? Just look for your blocks. Yeah, deal with them one at a time. Let it settle. Deal with the next one. Let it settle. But the biggest thing that will get you stepping up to the next level is cranking up your big why and cranking up the big vision. The bigger and more connected and exciting your big vision is, the more likely you are to burst through the blocks. It's like your big why and your big vision are the fuel for life's adventure. And if you've got a mission that you're on and a message you want to get out there that's big enough for you, yeah, big enough to be slightly scary is about the right metric, it will burn through your blocks. So over the past weeks, as I've been sat there occasionally biting my nails, going, oh, I can't write this book, I can't publish this book, I've remembered why I'm doing it. And I thought, well, if I get to my 80th birthday and I've not done this and I allowed these fears to win, how will I feel? And the answer was, frankly, pants. Yeah. It helped me get through the fears. It helped me get through the worries, through the stories, the drama, the excuses, knowing why I was doing this. imagining time traveling to my 80th birthday. Do I want to do this? Do I want to miss out? And coming back to here and now and realizing I wasn't prepared to pay that price in order to keep feeding that fear. So, how to make change last? I've got some questions I want to ask you that come straight from the Dare to Dream Bigger handbook. Okay, how to make change last. So, here are some questions. If you're watching the replay, press pause. I'll leave brief gaps on the live version. So you pick one of the aspects, particularly a confidence-based aspect, because confidence is, if you're confident, it means everything feels possible. Yeah. So you can dream bigger, you can achieve bigger, you can make more of a difference. And I'm not talking brash confidence. I'm talking that inner, grounded, centered self-belief, knowing you're here on a mission and you're going to find a way to make it happen, even if that scares the pants off you. Yeah. So picking one of those aspects. Which stories do I want to tell myself in my head about my ability to create whatever it is I want to create? Which stories do I want to tell myself in my head about what it is I want to create? What will making this change do for me? What will making this change in my confidence do for me? What will making this change in my confidence do for others? What will I miss out on if I don't make this change? What will I miss out on if I don't make this change? What support do I need to make this change? What support do I need to make this change? What kinds of actions will I be taking when I've made this change? What kinds of actions will I be taking when I've made this change? And are there any old habits I need to let go of to support this change? Are there any old habits I need to let go of to support this change? And finally, how will I make sure this change happens and when? How will I make sure this change happens and when? And when you make these changes, give them time to become second nature. Sometimes when somebody's excited and they want to make shifts, they'll make 20 in one go, and then things get really tricky because your brain's addled. Yeah. Make one change, let it settle. Make one change, let it settle. Allow it to become your new autopilot, your new second nature. So that's all I wanted to say for today. If you would like, I'm just gonna, there you go. Cool. If you'd like to journey more deeply with me on this stuff, because we've just scratched the surface today, and I really hope you found it useful, and please let me know if you did, either via the comments or you can email my team, hello@clairejosa.com. The Dare to Dream Bigger handbook is available for pre-order, and we're just finishing the cover design, which is really exciting. We're finishing the inner manuscript. It's been road tested. It's bringing together 14 years of working with people on this into something that you can use at home at your own speed. And it's so much more than just a book, because there are exercises in there that include the exact questions I would ask you if we were in a mentoring session together. And they include the exact techniques that we would do together. Most of the exercises have got a downloadable worksheet in the Readers Club, so you can scribble it down and keep it as a file. They've also got audios, so I talk you through the questions and you can press pause to answer them. So it's like we're sitting in a room together. And lots of the sections have got bonus videos where we deep dive on concepts that are in the book. So it's a totally interactive course. And I don't want you to feel like you're doing this on your own. So there's also a Google Proof forum where only readers of the book are getting together, and all of the exercises have discussion threads that go with them. So you can share your questions, your experiences, your insights, your light bulbs, your advice, your journey with others. So we can create the most amazing network of people who all have the intention of daring to dream bigger, to make a bigger difference in the world, despite feeling scared, despite self-sabotage, despite all of the stories our minds tell us. And we go a lot deeper than just the mind. In the ancient world, they believed there were 5 layers of experience. They believed that you've got the physical world with your actions in your body. You've got the energetic world with your life force, your breathing and your thoughts. You've got the mind and the emotions, where's the inner critic and the dialogue and the emotional responses we have to life and how we process things through our senses. You've got the knowledge world with a capital K, that inner wisdom, that intuition, connecting to others. And you finish off with the connection to the self. And we're actually going to work through all 5 of those layers in the book. So if that resonates for you, it's on a special offer at the moment. It's pre-order. You can click on the link. If the link's not showing for you on the replay, because sometimes gremlins mean it doesn't, www.daretodreambiggerhandbook.com, daretodreambiggerhandbook.com. And I would love to sign a copy and send it your way, week commencing 22nd of September. And thank you for joining me today. Please let me know how you got on. I hope you found this useful, and I can't wait to hear what you go and do with this stuff. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us.